Hey guys, what is up? It is the Bomy 93, and today we're gonna cover some Super Nintendo news. That is like the dumbest intro, and I've done it about 6 or 7 times. So I'm recording this on Monday, just so you guys know. I'm a little bit ahead of schedule, so I'm recording this on Monday so that way I can release it on Tuesday as planned. So if I go today when I'm supposed to be talking about yesterday, that's kind of why. So begin. Yesterday, Nintendo announced the Super Nintendo Classic Edition. So we got the NES Classic Edition last September. It's kind of a novelty. It was kind of a novelty item that Nintendo didn't expect it to be so popular. It kind of blew out of proportion and yada yada yada. And people are just like, well. And a lot of the Nintendo fans, myself not included in this for once, and I bet you one Jim Sterling probably isn't either, because we seem to share a lot of views. Like, I know a lot of people are going to say but I agree with his rating on Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Breath of the Wild, not Ocarina of Time, oh my goodness. But it just, there are a few things that I kind of agree more with his, but a 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10 is somewhere in that area, not a complete 10 out of 10. There are a few bugs, but they have patched those bugs, so it's more like a 9 out of 10, but that's a review for another time. So there's going to be 21 games, including Star Fox 2, Super Mario RPG, Legend of 7 Stars, Super Mario World. Like, a lot of those games, there are few that aren't available on the Nintendo eShop on your new 3DS or new 2DS XL, or as well as the Wii. And you know, I'm not going to be as openly critical considering how big the NES was a flop. The classic NES was kind of a misunderstanding for Nintendo that they didn't realize they needed to produce more units, but once again, I think they are producing this as a novelty item. So, once again, I'm probably not going to get it. It's a novelty item. It's meant for a certain audience that wants to go back and play a lot of these games in the past. I mean, they are releasing Star Fox 2 technically with the system. So, I mean, there is that there as well. I mean, people have played the ROM of it on emulators usually, but this is kind of like I wonder if this is the actual game that they had in their grips. They're like, okay, it was ready to release, now we're ready to release it, so let's just go ahead and release it with this thing that emulates a Super Nintendo, obviously with an FX chip if it's playing Yoshi's Island, and the original Star Fox as well. Ironically, Star Fox 2 is behind a paylock behind Star Fox 1 if you have to beat the first level of Star Fox to unlock Star Fox 2. So that's kind of new and interesting. They do say they are going to produce more units, but I have a terrible time believing that, considering the fact that they're already having a tough time producing Switches as is, and also with the big issue that is NAND flash memory being very hard to find. It's hurt Nintendo Switch production, and no doubt it'll probably hurt Super Nintendo Classic Edition production. And a lot of people are going to say, why is this such a huge issue? Well, the fact of the matter is Apple is chewing up a whole bunch of these chips. Well, chewing up, I mean buying a whole bunch of these chips to ramp up production for the iPhone 8 or the iPhone 7 and 7S. They are ramping up production so that way they can build a whole lot of these units really quickly and put them out when they need it. Where this hurts Nintendo is the fact that they're a very small company as compared to somebody big, huge like Apple. Like, Apple is completely worldwide, where Nintendo kind of has their niche markets like Japan, the US, and Canada, and yada yada yada. Another reason why I'm not a huge fan of the Super Nintendo Classic Edition, just mainly the fact that Nintendo is probably going to underproduce again. this time it probably won't be any of their own rendition like Switch. Although people are openly criticizing Nintendo for not producing enough units, even though it's clear to everybody in the industry who has an idea that it's Apple's fault and not anything of their own doing, and yada yada yada. And I just think the Switch is something new, it's something interesting, it's very good for the gaming industry as a whole, as compared to something like this, where it's a bit more of a nostalgia thing, which you could hopefully eventually, I'm not sure still why they haven't announced Virtual Console on the Switch, but they are going to introduce it sometime this year. We're just not exactly sure when. I mean, they might just be trying to figure out how can we use an emulator with this sort of software. It might be developing a whole entire new emulator. It's nothing like the Wii version, which was essentially the basis behind the Wii U, the 3DS, and which is essentially the same thing behind those two emulators as well. So the Wii, the Wii U, and the 3DS probably have very similar Virtual Console sort of things, whereas the Switch is probably going to get a whole entirely new system, more akin to that of actually owning a console back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, if GameCube, which is predicted will come out, and Virtual Console on the Switch is actually to come out on the Switch. Another reason why they could have pushed the online on the Nintendo console back a bit was not because they were getting any feedback or it wasn't ready. It might be the fact that they're just struggling to get Switches out there, so that way they're making enough of a profit on Switches themselves that they can actually produce this kind of online entertainment, because they're struggling to actually produce Switches and getting people ready for the online. Eventually will come, and we know a lot more about now than we did once the Switch released on May 3rd, March 3rd, May 3rd, ooh, that's a month ago. April, May, June, it was 2 months before that. So there's that. So if you're wondering why I don't really cover these sort of things, is I think they're more like a nostalgia item / a novelty item that's meant for only a certain purpose that literally I don't really think will take off the way that they do. I don't understand it. I just really don't see myself purchasing one of these little systems, especially with the fact that it's for $80, even though you get 20 games for it, and you would end up, according to you'd pay like $140, which, okay, you get a bit of a discount on the games, but you still have to get a whole new HDMI cable, you still have to get a whole new AC adapter, yada yada yada, and it's just, is it really worth it, like, in the end, to have a whole nother box where you can play these games on, or just have one place where everything's consolidated, everything's good to go, and there you go. So hopefully, eventually, Star Fox 2 comes out in the 3DS eShop, or the new 3DS eShop, I should say, because you won't be able to get it on the old 3DS, because Super Nintendo is exclusive to new 3DS, yeah. But there's just my opinions on that. What do you guys think? Are you hyped for the Super Nintendo Mini? Are you hyped? Well, it's not really a Super Nintendo Mini, it's a Super NES Classic Edition, which people are calling the Super Nintendo Mini, although the Mini Super Nintendo was actually produced kind of at this end of the Super Nintendo life cycle in the US, so Model 101 versus 10001, if you get that, and the NES Classic is called the NES Mini, although the NES Mini, it was NES 001, so I don't know what's going on there. I guess people will just want more Nintendo, I guess, and that's what happened. So, anyways, that's my time for today. If you want to see more news videos, hit that like button. It really helps me out a lot. If you want to see more review videos, wondering when something is coming out, don't be afraid to comment that below, as well as your opinions on today's video. And as always, stay Bomy.